Imagine this: you walk into a room, excited, full of energy, and within minutes you've told everyone about your plans, your dreams, your struggles, even the last argument you had. You walk out feeling lighter, but soon you notice things you shared becoming gossip, being twisted or used against you. That sinking feeling, when you realize your openness has cost you your peace, is something almost all of us have experienced. And here's the truth: not every ear that hears your words is a safe place for them to land. In life, it's not the noise that teaches us the most, it's the pauses. The moments we resist the urge to explain ourselves, defend ourselves, or prove ourselves. The moments we simply watch and listen. Silence is not emptiness, it's a strategy. A wise person knows that words, once released, cannot be taken back. They become arrows, sometimes healing, sometimes wounding, and once shot, they cannot be called home. Oversharing often comes from the desire to be understood quickly, but deep understanding is never rushed. It's built over time through trust, respect, and mutual care. The more you pour your entire story into everyone you meet, the less special and protected your truth becomes. Your life is not public property. Not every chapter should be read aloud, especially when the reader's heart is not ready to handle it with kindness. Silence also reveals more about others than words ever could. When you observe without interrupting, people show you their priorities, their values, and even their loyalty without you asking. You begin to see patterns. Who listens without judgment, who changes the subject when things get serious, and who probes just to collect details for later. Observation is like light. It reveals the unseen, while silence becomes the lens through which you see clearly. When you stop oversharing, you reclaim control over your own narrative. You're no longer giving others the ability to interpret your life on your behalf. You keep certain parts of yourself sacred, untouchable, and that inner security radiates as strength. Remember, the loudest voice in the room is rarely the one with the deepest wisdom. True depth speaks through calm confidence, not constant chatter. So the next time you feel the urge to spill every detail, pause. Ask yourself, will this serve me or will it drain me? Observe silently. Let people show you who they are without feeding them unnecessary pieces of your soul. You'll be surprised how much more peaceful life becomes when you protect your words as treasures, not giveaways. We live in a world where sharing has become second nature. With a few taps on a phone, we can let the entire world know where we are, what we're doing, and even how we feel. But somewhere along the way, this openness has crossed into a territory where we give away pieces of ourselves too freely, too quickly. Oversharing is not always about generosity of spirit or transparency of heart. More often than we realize, it comes from a deep-seated need for validation rather than a genuine desire for connection. Think about it. How many times have you told a personal story, not because the other person truly needed to hear it, but because you wanted to feel seen, heard, or understood? The human heart craves acknowledgement. We want to be reassured that our experiences matter, that our struggles are worth empathy, and that our victories are worth celebration. But the danger lies in making other people the gatekeepers of our worth. When we overshare for validation, we essentially hand over our sense of self to whoever is willing to listen, even if their intentions are unclear or their capacity for care is limited. This kind of sharing feels satisfying in the moment because it gives us an emotional high of being noticed. Someone leans in, asks more questions, and we feel important. But the problem is, validation obtained this way is like fast food. It gives quick satisfaction, but no real nourishment. It doesn't make you whole. It only feeds the craving temporarily. Soon, you're left with an even stronger urge to keep talking, to keep revealing more, hoping the next piece of your story will earn you even more attention. And without realizing it, you're depleting your inner reserves, leaving yourself emotionally exposed. The truth is, when our worth depends on other people's reactions, we lose control over it. If they smile, we feel good. If they look disinterested, we feel small. And that's dangerous because it means your mood, your confidence, and even your sense of identity can fluctuate based on someone else's expression or opinion. Oversharing becomes a cycle. You give more in hopes of getting more, but each time, you're risking that the details you release might be misunderstood, misused, or even weaponized against you. People often confuse connection with exposure. Connection is built on trust, mutual respect, and shared experiences over time. Exposure, on the other hand, is simply putting yourself out there without knowing if the ground you're stepping on is stable. When we seek validation through oversharing, we often mistake exposure for intimacy. Just because someone nods while we speak does not mean they truly care. Just because someone seems curious doesn't mean they have our best interests at heart. There's also the risk of diminishing the value of your own story. Imagine reading a book where every plot twist is given away in the first few pages. Would you still feel intrigued to keep going? In the same way, when we reveal everything about ourselves too soon, we remove the mystery, the depth, and the sacredness of our journey. We turn our most personal experiences into casual conversation fillers, and that robs them of their meaning. When validation is your goal, you might find yourself talking more than listening. But genuine connection requires the opposite, listening more than speaking. True bonds are formed not when you've shared every detail of your life, but when you've shared the right details with the right people at the right time. And that only happens when you feel secure enough in yourself to not need constant external approval. Breaking the habit of oversharing starts with a simple but powerful mindset shift, learning to validate yourself first. When you know your value, you don't need to prove it to anyone. You don't need to convince someone of your worth through stories or confessions. Instead, you share because it's meaningful, not because it's necessary for you to feel good about yourself. It's important to remember that not every silence needs to be filled with explanation, and not every pause in conversation is a cue to talk about yourself. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to hold back, observe, and simply be present. You don't have to give people the keys to every room in your heart. Some rooms are meant to stay locked, reserved for those who have shown they can handle what's inside with care. In the end, the most fulfilling connections come from a place of self-assurance. When you no longer depend on validation to feel complete, your words become intentional, your boundaries become stronger, and your peace becomes unshakable. You realize that your story is a treasure, and treasures are not meant to be scattered in the open. They are meant to be shared with wisdom, dignity, and discernment. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness, shyness, or even disinterest. But in reality, silence can be one of the most powerful tools a person can use to understand the world around them. When you choose to remain quiet, you open the door to observation, and observation reveals far more than words ever could. People show themselves in countless ways, not only through what they say, but in how they react when you don't immediately respond. The space created by your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their true nature back to you. When you speak too much, you can unintentionally give others the script they need to act in a way that pleases you. But when you remain silent, People are left to show their genuine selves without your influence. You get to see whether their kindness is consistent or only appears when they stand to gain something. You see whether their patience is real or if it wears thin when they can't get a reaction from you. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the presence of clarity. It strips away the noise of performance and reveals the truth. Think of it this way in conversation. Words can be like paint. People can use them to decorate, to hide imperfections, or to create illusions. But silence is like clear water, transparent, revealing what lies beneath the surface. In your quiet, you can notice the details others overlook, the hesitation before an answer, the glance away when a question touches something sensitive, the tone shift when a subject becomes uncomfortable. These subtle cues often speak louder than anything said aloud. The beauty of silence is that it puts you in the role of the observer, not the performer. It allows you to read the room, assess motives, and decide how much of yourself you should reveal. Many people will try to fill your silence, and in doing so, they will reveal their priorities, their insecurities, and sometimes their hidden agendas. Some will share from the heart, while others will try to pull information from you to serve their own purposes. Without you saying much, you can discern which is which. It's also important to understand that silence is a filter. Those who are genuine will not be unsettled by it. They will respect your quiet and meet it with patience and presence. Those who are impatient, manipulative, or self-serving will often grow uncomfortable and try to push you into speaking more than you intend. Their reaction to your silence tells you everything about how safe or unsafe it is to trust them. Silence can also reveal the depth of someone's intentions in relationships, whether personal or professional. A person who values you will not require constant reassurance through words. They will show their care through consistent actions over time. On the other hand, someone with shallow intentions may grow distant or frustrated when you don't offer immediate openness or vulnerability. By holding back, you give them the opportunity to prove whether they are willing to invest in earning your trust. In a world where talking is constant and attention is fleeting, silence is an act of strength. It's a refusal to hand over your thoughts and feelings before you've decided they are safe to share. It's also a way to break free from the pressure to always entertain, explain, or justify yourself. When you remain quiet, you step into a position of power, not to control others, but to protect yourself from unnecessary harm. Observing in silence also teaches you patience. You learn that people's true intentions are not revealed in a single moment, but over time. Words can be rehearsed, actions cannot be sustained without truth behind them. By giving people the time and space to show you who they really are, you save yourself from investing in relationships that are built on appearances instead of authenticity. The truth is, silence is not about shutting yourself off from the world. It's about tuning in more deeply to it. It's about listening not only to what is being said, but to what is left unsaid. It's about seeing the difference between someone's image and their essence. And when you can see that difference clearly, you give yourself the gift of making wiser choices about whom to trust, how much to share, and when to simply keep watching. In those moments, your silence is not empty. It's full of insight, strength, and discernment. There is a unique kind of strength that comes from knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. Words are powerful. They can heal, encourage, inspire, but they can also wound, destroy, and leave scars that cannot be erased. Once spoken, words cannot be taken back. They live on in the minds of those who heard them, shaping opinions and influencing how people see you. This is why self-control in speech is not just a virtue, it is a shield that protects both your peace and your power. Every time you choose your words carefully, you take ownership of your energy. You are no longer a prisoner of impulses or emotions that might cause you to say something in anger, frustration, or desperation. Self-control in speech means you decide what story you tell about yourself, not your emotions in the heat of the moment. It prevents you from giving others ammunition to use against you. You may not be able to control how others behave, but you can control what they know about you and how they receive your presence. When you speak without restraint, you give away fragments of your inner world to anyone who is listening, whether or not they have earned that privilege. Not everyone who hears you will honor your words. Some will twist them, others will spread them, and a few might even weaponize them. But when you practice self-control, you learn to guard the details of your life like precious jewels. You don't lock them away out of fear, but you share them only with those who have shown they will handle them with care. This is not secrecy, it is wisdom. Self-control also spares you from unnecessary conflict. Many arguments are born not from what was done, but from what was said in reaction. A moment of verbal restraint can save you hours, days, or even years of repairing damage caused by a careless word. The discipline to pause, breathe, and think before speaking is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of maturity and emotional intelligence. You may still feel the sting of frustration, but you choose not to let it dictate your speech. In doing so, you protect your peace from being shattered by regret. There is also a quiet power in being unpredictable with your words. If people know you won't reveal everything you think or feel, they learn to respect your boundaries. You hold a certain mystery, and mystery commands attention. People listen more closely when you speak less often, but with purpose. Your voice gains weight because it's not wasted on empty chatter or unmeasured reactions. When you finally do speak, your words carry impact. Self-control in speech is also deeply connected to self-respect. If you value yourself, you won't feel the need to prove your worth through constant explanation or excessive storytelling. You know who you are, and you don't need to convince others of it with every conversation. You become comfortable with silence, not as a void to be filled, but as a space that reflects your confidence. People will notice that you are not easily provoked into saying things you don't mean or revealing things you don't want shared, and that consistency builds trust. Guarding your words also guards your mental space. When you speak impulsively, you might find yourself overthinking later, wondering if you said too much, if you offended someone, or if your words will come back to haunt you. But when you've spoken with intention, you can walk away from any conversation with peace of mind, knowing you stayed aligned with your values. Your speech becomes a reflection of your discipline, not your moods. Power in life is not just about influence over others, it's about influence over yourself. If you can master your words, you can master your relationships, your reputation, and your emotional well-being. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who learn to control it carry a quiet authority wherever they go. Self-control in speech is like holding the steering wheel of your own life. You decide the direction, you set the pace, and you determine the outcome. In a world where so many speak without thinking, the person who can speak with wisdom will always stand out, not for how much they say, but for how much they mean with every word.